The world releases, and these figures are important at times in a way to tell people about the scale of the problem again. 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases every year. You've been talking about bringing it down to zero. I mean, that sounds something like an environmental equivalent of a moon landing. How do we achieve this sort of paradigm shift, the breakthrough moment? I mean, you're a technology person, and many wonder whether there's a tech break that can actually fix the problem. Is there a technology in your view that can fix the problem given the sheer scale again of it?
Yeah, I can absolutely guarantee without technology breakthroughs, it's just too expensive, and the world will have such a tough time saying, you know, should the rich countries who've done the emissions historically, should they fund all of this? How do we convince everyone where you have to take pain now to get the gain later? And of course, if people say, hey, don't build any new buildings or don't travel, that's unrealistic. Of course, the rich countries could, you know, build smaller houses and travel a bit less. But if you take the world as a whole, where you're just now getting to the levels of basic living size and transport, you know, the idea of reducing the consumption, that's not going to work. That would be, you know, impossible to do and not just in any way. So we're going to build a lot of buildings, but we need to do that in a clean way. We're going to have a lot more cars, but we need to do that in a clean way. So this is the hardest thing humanity's ever done. Harder than a moon landing, which that one actually worked. Here, it's all over the world, and the scale, you know, when you drive around, you'll see cement plants everywhere. Every one of those has to make a change.
You know, as you write about climate change, as you talk about it, Bill Gates, what's your top force feeling that comes in? Is it anxiety or is it a sense of hope? How do you look at the future?
Well, I'm very lucky that I've seen huge innovations in the digital space in my Microsoft work, and that, you know, has been profound. I've seen huge breakthroughs in the health space with new vaccines, saving children's lives from diarrhea and pneumonia, and our foundation has been part of that. So I bring that same sense of possibility that if we tap into the most brilliant minds all over the world and we create the right incentives for them, that yes, we can solve this problem. Anyone who thinks it's going to be simple or we can do it quickly, you know, sadly I can prove to them that that's not the case. But, you know, it is very necessary. And so, you know, in the last 6 years since that Paris event, we've done some of the things we need to do, not nearly enough. So we have to continue that. And, you know, the milestone of this COP26 in Glasgow in November, you know, hopefully everyone's saying, okay, it's still not enough. We need to do more.
What I sense from you is hope and anxiety coexist almost. Would that be the way to put it? If there's something that's triggering hope, is it that people are far more conscious today about climate change? World leaders are far more conscious, policymakers today, than they were, say, even a decade ago?
Yes. This is, you know, particularly Europe, I would say, is in the vanguard of making this part of all of their economic policies. The US sometimes is good on this, sometimes is not. Sadly, I would say that the awareness will be growing in India because the recognition that among the challenges India faces is that the temperatures in part of the country will be very high. I mean, you know, worse than it will be in Texas, say. And so I think the strength of going to the world and saying, yes, we'll do our part, but only through massive innovation are we going to be able to achieve it. That will grow. And, you know, we have about 10 years to invent everything and then about 20 years to roll it all out to hit that goal of zero, down from 51 billion by 2050.